Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Paradigm, a holistic health coaching company shifting the way that women understand and heal their bodies. Through bioenergetic testing, functional lab testing, and functional nutrition, we uncover what traditional approaches often overlook, so you can stop guessing, start healing, and finally feel like yourself again. No more one-size-fits-all protocols, just real answers, deep-rooted healing, and the clarity and confidence you deserve to feel incredible. It's time to shift the paradigm of women's health. Now, on to our show. And good afternoon, Jaclyn.
Hello, hello.
Hi. So I'm excited that Jaclyn is here. We're just gonna have a great conversation. Jaclyn and I are very similar in our viewpoints on many things around women's health. And she is a functional health coach with a focus on nervous system regulation. And we're gonna kind of dive into probably a little bit of her story and about transitioning from how we used to approach women's health to, what we found was missing and why kind of nervous system is probably like the key to a lot of women's functional health journey, even when they think
Mm.
labs are really the answer. So we're going to kind of dive into this, and I'll have Jaclyn introduce herself and tell us a little more about who you are and how you got started in this work.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me on the show today. I'm very excited. Uh, I'm a functional health coach, and like you said, nervous system regulation has become a big part of how I practice because there are labs that do not touch what needs to be touched in the body and what needs to be, sometimes how I word it is what needs to be hugged, like that little inner child that needs a little bit of love. So that has been a big shift along the way that I didn't know I needed until I had it. And I was like, oh my gosh. It's not like, it kind of feels like a little secret that I have hidden in. It's like, I have something that a lot of other coaches don't hit on as well as you. And I feel like there was a phase in health where it was like a lot of David Goggins, and there's still like a small hint of it, a little hint of like, do more, go harder, you're not doing enough. And I
Mhm.
learned the hard way how that affected my body on every facet. I was burnout, I was exhausted, I was puffy, I had gut issues, Hashimoto's at one point. I mean, it was just a laundry list that just never stopped. And I thought, I don't understand what is going on. And then little like sprinkles on the internet of the nervous system started to come up. And I was like, what? This person's telling me to calm down. You can't tell me to calm down. And so at first, I mean, I get it. When you tell people, they're like, you try to tell me to calm down.
Tell me to stop stressing. I'm always gonna have stress.
hmm Exactly. So it's always going to be in us, but it's more so I learned you're not going to be regulated all the time. Like it's good to like rage out and then go cry in the corner for a second and then wipe your hands and be good. But I used to shame myself for all of that. The little like good girl syndrome that we were all taught. Be the good girl. Don't say that. Suck it up. Smile. Oh my gosh, you don't do out of the lines. Don't curse. Don't do. There was a lot of, and I was raised Catholic. So a lot of that was deeply ingrained in how we were raised. And it is a lot of what things that I see with women as they continue to grow up, not just from Catholic or Christian or whatever denomination. It's just something that in society, if you are outspoken, you're a bitch. If you're outspoken, you're too much, you're too loud. Be smaller. And so that affected a lot of how I was in my adulthood and being like my authentic self. So it was very interesting to finally shift because we've all done stupid things in our life. Okay. I did not forgive myself for. You would talk to people and they're like, just forgive yourself. And I thought, okay, I've tried that and I cry every time. And I try it again and I just get mad. Or I try it again and I don't even listen to myself. So it wasn't until I started to learn nervous system regulation that, hey, you can, all the things that you did was what your body needed to create safety in that moment. And that's what gave me forgiveness, is understanding myself from a much deeper standpoint of like, oh my gosh, some of it was just a knee jerk reaction. I had no idea. And I
Mhm.
continue to do knee jerk reactions post narcissistic relationship that I shamed and shamed and shamed. And I realized, oh my gosh, that was purely something that I had to do to break out of the cage to find myself again. But I
Mm.
couldn't forgive myself until it was with nervous system regulation. And that was the start of last year that I got into it. And oh my gosh, it cracked open things in me that I didn't even know were in there.
For sure. And outside of just feeling better emotionally, like how did your physical health also improve?
I look back at photos of myself, and honest to goodness, I don't look the same.
Yeah.
Like I have a different glow. I like my jawline's a lot more chiseled. I'm way less puffy. Even if I have like a couple adult beverages, I don't blow up or I don't feel like really just gross. And it's not like I'm indulging them all the time, but when I do, it's more from a standpoint of like, I'm not doing this because I'm trying to cover something up inside of me. Like, if I have a glass of wine, it's not to do it out of like, this day, this week, I deserve this. It's just because I like the flavor. It's not to mask something. So I notice like in my body, I respond better. I respond better to others. I used to be very, very deflective in the sense of like I would either shut down. I deemed that it was a really beautiful thing to never fight with my significant other. I was like, oh, I never have a fight with my significant other. Now looking back, that was I understand that. I was like, oh my gosh, that was just because I didn't want confrontation because if I did, they would leave me. And that was another layer of the good girl. So my physical body, I do not deal with Hashimoto's at all. It's gotten blood work done several times since 2023. Nowhere even near being on my blood work. Not even a glimpse. Like, ooh, it's starting to raise. Not even a glimpse. So it's been really interesting seeing those aspects and seeing how I'm not feeling bloated all the time. It's like a full 360. And there's so many people that are like, you don't look the same. I'm like, I know.
And you probably don't, I mean, this is something more personal that somebody probably would always say to you. You don't act the same, right? You're probably less reactive and less, jumpy. That's a big one I see with people too, is like
Yes.
jumpy and reactive is not normal too, It's like, um, but I think this is really the missing puzzle piece for a lot of people. And I will say you've probably been doing the foundations too, right? You do eat well, you exercise, you're doing a lot of those things, but so many of the clients that have come to us, right, they're doing those. They're
Mm,
doing the supplements, maybe they're doing the nutrition, they're working out, they're kind of doing quotation the right things. Maybe they've gone to a naturopath or a functional doctor, maybe they've ran the blood work, right? And
mhm.
like why am I still so tired? Why do I still have I mean, Hashi's is a huge one right now. Um,
Yes.
and it's like, why? Or it's just like, well, it's just normal. I have an autoimmune disease. No.
Yep. It's normal to feel like this.
I have PCOS. I have, and it's like we've just normalized so much
Yes.
dysfunction in the female body, and we don't trace it always back to it's not more willpower, it's not genetics. I mean, yes, they play a
Yes.
role, but it's like, what's the thing that we often, honestly, I will tell you, I think nervous system is way harder than any of the other things. I can take all the
Yeah.
supplements, I can do the, ask me to work out, do the new, no, but the nervous system work absolutely was
Oh,
my final domino. And most people
yep.
do, right? It's like
Yes.
until you're forced to really look at some things, it's like, and then what happens? Well, sometimes when you start, going down this road, it's not always big, bold, and beautiful. It's like dark
Oh,
and like not always fun to address all of these things that have maybe been built up, but it's like on the other side of it, it's like not doing protocol after protocol or coach after coach or
yes.
program after program. It's like there's freedom, like true freedom in
Yes.
your body, and it's like I wish women understood that to really
Yes.
understand that there's a different side to healing. That's not just, and again, they have their time and place. It's not that all the things aren't important, but I'd love for you to walk because I know you've pivoted, from more of that functional to the nervous system kind of style. What are the changes you've seen when you've had clients who have maybe come in, maybe wanting one thing, really addressing a different one, and kind of that transition or that transformation that you see?
Right. We'll go in there and we'll support what needs to be supported, stomach acid, but what that also comes down to is the stress that they're having. So during their day, I see so many people that say they get to bed and they're wired and they can't fall asleep and their brain's going. And I'm like, hi, that is me as well. But when I started creating pauses in my day to check in with myself, I noticed there's so many times I would come from one thing and try to go to the next thing and then try to go to the next thing, and I was just like kind of frazzled, and I'd feel in the middle of the next task just like really unsettled. And I thought, oh my gosh, like Jaclyn, practice what you freaking preach and check in on yourself. So I made the pause and I said, okay, in my body, I'm noticing this. And I would notice a tight chest. I was on a full flight or flight going one thing to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And I didn't even notice it because that's what we're just go, go, more, do. And I hear so many women say, I'm exhausted and I don't know why. I get enough sleep. I do this. And I don't understand. And one of my biggest phrases that I say is like, self-love is not the nails and the hair and the exercise and this. It's sitting with yourself in those darkest moments when you want to just run the other way and just allowing yourself to hear you. Like I'm looking at, I have another chair in my office right now. It's like I'm looking at another version of me just sitting there and just listen, kind of like this conversation here. There's no judgment. There's no worry. It's just a conversation with yourself. And those moments that I teach those clients, they start to say, oh my gosh, I don't have to reach for the second cup of coffee. I don't have to feel like I'm behind in doing this. I don't have to feel like I'm running around with my head cut off. Like this doesn't, they're almost at a loss for words. Like nobody teaches you this. I feel so slow, but in a good way, because slow, that word really terrifies people. Well, what do you mean? If I slow down and I'm not busy and I'm not productive, then I'm not going to feel good about myself. I said, slowness is productive. So when you do have to ramp up, you can actually go. Mm-hmm. It's just a different reframe. And so those reframes that we have with clients, even like, I just hate my body. What is your body doing well for you? Name those things. Don't focus on what is not going right because everything in your world is going to play out like that. Mm-hmm. So we finally just start to peel back some of the layers of what we've been taught. We're not enough. We're not worthy. I'm not this. And letting those still coexist. You can have a mentality of like, I feel really freaking good, but I also feel really shitty at times. Those can coexist. And I used to also deem myself as bad. I was like, I have to feel good all the time. Otherwise, I'm not a good coach, or I'm not a good leader, I'm not a this. Yeah. And what I realize is that's obviously not real life. So like the ebbs and flows are part of the nervous system and part of just allowing it and not shaming it and turning away from it to ignore it. I have a client who has a hell of a lot of GERD and it's unresolved stuff that she's not dealt with. And she's told me no and no and no for years and years and years. And we're now starting to work on it. And it's slowly starting to like subside. And it is so wild because we've thrown every supplement. We've thrown take the coffee out, take the alcohol out, take the chocolate out, take everything that's acidic out. And it's like, it's still there. And so now she's like, okay, this is really annoying that you were right. I was like, I know,
No, I think that's the one biggest thing with nervous system is you have to be ready to step into it. And I mean, yeah. I've had clients in my programs for sometimes years, love it, and it's because they see progress, yes. So they love but it's like, there's always these different layers. It's like, maybe we went through the functional health piece. Maybe we did a weight loss protocol. Maybe we did whatever it is, maybe just vitality. Yep. And then it's like, hey, listen, I know we've been talking, like planting the seed for a while, but like, I really feel like this is the missing piece. Like, are you ready, to die? And it doesn't have to be like, oh, we're going to just start unloading all your drama. It's just simple things throughout the day that kind of like wet the feet. And I have not had one person ever say, this isn't helping, or if they are, then there's things to unpack there too, because a lot of people, I think, mentally shut off. They don't want it to be the thing because everyone doesn't want to address the fact that stress is their problem because they're like, oh, I'm never not going to be stressed. It's not about how stressed you are. It's how resilient your body is to that stress. Right? Like, we want to yell it from the rooftops too. And it's like, how can your body, you mentioned, ebbs and flows. It's like, can your body go from the state of heightened alert attack when something happens and then be able to come back down? Because stress is not a bad thing too. It's, can we bring it back down to a little bit more homeostasis and not feel like your body lives in that? Because that's where chronic issues happen. Right? And it's like, but that requires you to, it's like a muscle. You have to keep retraining it. It's not like, oh, I did breath work, didn't help. Yep, I did my for 2 days. See, it didn't help. See, how many of those people, when they're starting to get into it, it's like, oh my gosh, it didn't work. I did my cold plunge. I'm like, oh my gosh, and then you shock the hell out of your nervous system, and like but everyone's a checkbox. Yeah, tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix it. I want the answer right now, and the answer is within them.
And I think that's the craziest part. They're like, no, you tell me what's wrong with me. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with you. They're like, yes, there's. I'm like, no, there's not. There's literally nothing wrong with you. You have the answer. I am just your guide. I do not want to be the person who's your hero and solves it, because you are going to solve this and you are going to feel like the badass woman that you are when you come on the other side of this. But it is the tough work in the middle of it. And it is not a checkbox of I did that and I did that and I did that. Now solve me. It's not that simple.
Ooh, that brings up a good point, man, because especially people that hire a coach, right? They want to sometimes hire a savior. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we've probably had a lot. I mean, I know I have, I'm sure you have too. It's like people are like, you saved my life, and it's like, I love that. And it's like, no, you did the work. I was just your guide,
Yes.
and
Yes.
people want to look outside, whether you are in a coaching position, whether you
Yes.
are a coaching, you hire a mentor. We want to look at outside people to come save us and give us the answers. And I can't
Yes.
listen, if you're listening, I've been there too. And I'm like, why don't you have the answer? You know what I mean? And it's like, you have it inside of you. You're like, oh, just, you must have the secret. And it's like, no, it's not actually how it works. And that's harder because it takes introspection and it sometimes does take a longer path. And we don't want to address that. It's like, give me the quick fix.
Mm. Yes. Gimme, 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 gimme. Now, now, now. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm like, you're going to be okay. Just, I always tell people, don't worry about the 15 steps ahead. What is the very first step in front of you that you can see? That's what you take. The first step, not the 2, 3, 4. The very first step. That's what you take, not anything else, because everything else is going to feel chaotic and like a lot of noise. And that next step feels like, okay, I can do that. And then your next leg is going to pick up and continue. Like, I think a lot of people just forget that repetition in anything is going to help them just continue. And there's going to be bumps. I mean, my God, you think life is not going to throw us bumps? You lost your damn mind. There's going to be those hiccups.
There, though, too, to challenge you to work on the things that you've been working on.
Girl, I've been retested on the same effing thing in my life. And I'm like, okay, okay, I hear you. I've worked on it, but stop freaking testing me. And it's testing me because I'm not fully through it. I'm not fully seeing when I have narcissists that are in my life, or I have situations where I give all my energy to somebody and I don't get it back. And then I try more.
Yep.
And I'm like, Jaclyn, that's a lesson to learn, that not everybody gets to have your energy. Not everybody gets to have your light. That's yours to hold sacred. And you give it out to the people that need it the most and are there to receive it.
Yeah, 100%. I think, in any sort of journey, any sort of health, healing, vitality, whatever you want to call it, journey, it's rocky. And I think that's not to be dismal. It's just meant to be real, because a lot of people think when
Yes.
I start doing the work, it's just straight up line and
Yes.
jagged. And it's right? Like, as long as you keep making that progress, and you said like one step in front of the other, right? Because I think so often, probably many people in probably both our programs, they want the whole staircase. They want to see and it's like, listen, that's what's keeping you stuck. And it's like, but I need to know the next step. I need to know the next step. And it's like, well, how about we take things a step back, and back is not bad, right? And it's like one step. Okay, but then what's the next thing? It's like, we haven't even done step one. That's why you keep hiring coaches and do things, is because they just give you a plan and expect. We're working with where you're at right now, and where you're at right now. You want the whole thing because you want life to be chaotic, not on a conscious level, on a subconscious level. That's safe to you. That's safe to feel chaotic, and that there's so many things. And then guess what? You look at the whole thing, you're like, this is amazing for a day. And then the next day you're overwhelmed. And then the next day you're in freeze. And the next day you can't do anything. And then you're like, this program's not for me. It's not that.
Yep.
It's
the chaos and the running around and you just feel like you're on fire.
Yeah.
And that's what we call functional freeze. You're getting all your shit done, but deep down you're a burning pit of shit lit on fire, and you're wondering why you keep starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping, or this person didn't do it for me, and this person didn't do that, or this, that, and the other. And it is the hardest thing to look in and realize. But honestly, that was one of the most beautiful things, was to realize, oh my gosh, I can change a lot of what's happening around me. That's extremely powerful. That shift in me was like, wait a minute, it's not then, this, it's me, but not in a negative way. I was like, wow, I'm beyond powerful on so many levels, but we get that taken away from us so many times. Very different things as women as well. Very subjective at times, or very don't do, like, again, the good girl stuff. And we forget that we have all the power to build ourselves back up. And nobody can do that for us. No partner, no friend, nobody can do that for us but us. And that was like powerful for me because I always thought that I had to have somebody else to get me through life. And that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a hard one. It's a hard one if,
Ugh,
especially when you've relied on that or you found a lot of worth or you have different attachment styles, it's a hard thing to kind of unlearn and a beautiful thing. Like this journey is short,
beautiful.
it's hard, but it's beautiful and everything gets better. Like not just like,
Hmm.
we talked about this a little bit before we're all energetic beings, but when you're on a different wavelength and a different energy field, it ripples to your family. It's huge if you have kids too. Your kids pick up on your nervous system,
Yes.
partner, career, whatever it is, but it's like, you radiate and you vibrate at different frequencies when it's not coming from a place of hate all the time. And we don't think that, right? I remember I hired a mindset coach once. I've told this on a few podcasts, but I think it's relatable, right? Because like, and the first thing he said to me was like, Shannon, we need to work on self-love. I was like, I told you I want to like work on my business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'll do self-love, put my hand on my heart, whatever. And he'd point like I truly thought I loved myself. Like I did. And I was like, because
Hmm.
I loved the things about me and but then the words and the things I was saying and the way I was, pulling myself down just meant much of it self-consciously, it wasn't coming from a high vibrating self-love standpoint.
Yes.
And like that was annoying because I was like, oh, I have to work on this self-love. Like it felt so corny to me, right? And like
Yes.
obviously I believe it wholeheartedly and I'm very, very much pro advocate. But if anybody's listening and that feels awkward or uncomfortable, like I feel you. It's not meant to feel comfortable when you're
Facts.
stepping into this, but just know if you keep doing the things that you've been doing, they haven't been working, you want to feel different, you might have to do something different. And that different might be this sort of work. You know?
Yes. Yeah, I never thought on the other side of it that I would be like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Because during it, I was like, I am falling apart. I don't know who I am. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I've lived my whole life thinking that this is like the way to live. And then it just was like flipped on its head. And I thought, am I going to make it on the other side of this? Hell yeah. I made it out way better because it's just different perspectives of, again, like how we ripple out to other people. It makes a big, big difference. And it starts with us. And it's, again, you hit it on the head. Like, okay, I'm going to put my hand on my heart, self love. What am I going to do with this? Like, you want to just sit here and say, I love myself? All right. It just felt so off. And there's an exercise that we did with just like a simple pencil and it's just playing with it. And I just noticed that the pen, I wouldn't let it fall. I wouldn't let it come off my hand. It would stay on my hand and it was supposed to be play. And I wouldn't let it drop. And I noticed, I was like, holy crap, the perfectionism of like holding it all together was a huge thing that was like from childhood all the way up. And so I started breaking it down. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I let that go. Like I don't cut paper to the point where it's super straight anymore. I thought I was done for perfectionism. I was like, oh, Jaclyn, you're funny because it showed up in other ways. And it was just a slap. Like, this is what's holding you back is you trying to look and put on this, like, I got it while everything is kind of crumbling because you won't face it. And that was, I mean, I was on this call and it was for somatics and I just turned the camera off and just lost it. I said, oh my gosh, an epiphany of what I've been fighting. And it was a simple exercise, so simple. And it
Mhm.
cracked this like eggshell open. And I was just like a little chick with my head out, like, I don't know what's happening. I'm coming out, but I'm like, this is terrifying.
It's yes. I think sometimes when people think of somatics, or maybe you've never heard of the word somatic, and even nervous system regulation might feel like a little bit weird of a word, but it's like
Yeah.
we think we're going to go into like deep therapy and trauma rehealing and like rehashing. And sometimes
Mm,
it's as simple as putting a pencil on your hand, or,
yep.
doing a simple exercise and just kind of really understanding and tapping into what that might, meet not with judgment, but just with, some clarity. And
Curiosity.
it might take some time. Like if you would have told me 3 years ago to do an exercise like that, I would have been like, cool, pencil, bye. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it would have taken me a while because like the more you understand yourself, these patterns, things like that, the more you become open, not even aware, just like just subconsciously open to receiving new
Yeah.
information, right? And being like, oh, interesting, what's more safety, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I'm perfectionist, this and that, crack yourself open. If you're not open to that, you might feel like none of this is working, and that's
Yep.
going, you might have to do an exercise a few times. Like I can't tell you how many times people do inner child work or breath work or
Hmm.
something, and it's like nothing, 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 and whoa, huge release, and it's like, was it that breath work or that was magical? No, it was you were in a space to feel safe
Yes.
to release, right? And so
Hmm.
that sometimes takes a hot second. So,
Yes, there was a program that I was doing called Bare Necessities, and it was just teaching, like, hey, take the pauses, do this exercise, try this. Like, I was like, it may, first time you're like, what the F is the point of this? Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, like, it may take 10 tries. And there was a girl that got through it, and she was like, I'm understanding. I get it. I'm like opening up parts of trauma that I didn't even really know were still kind of underlying. And I was like, that's the beauty of it. I don't ask you to go back to the moment. It's just noticing again where the trends are happening and noticing where during the day that you're shutting down. Maybe it brings you back to something 3 years ago that you blocked out and it's starting to like slowly rear its head, but you don't have time to pay attention to it because everything's too chaotic. And it was really interesting. I was like, that's the coolest part about somatics, working with the body is it. I don't want to dive into the trauma with you.
yeah.
You do the tools and you get to figure out where you need to pivot. Because again, you got the answers. Where do you need to pivot? You
Mhm.
just are going to do these exercises to start to learn where that looks like or where that needs to be. And that was the neatest thing that she got out of it. She's like, I'm processing, but I'll be back. But she's like, holy crap, holy crap. And there's, I mean, so many other girls that like work on mindset that I work with. And they're at the very beginning, before I got into trauma, she was like, okay, I love myself. Like, can we move on from this? Like, I just want to lose weight. I'm so miserable. And I was like, sister girl, this is not tangible until it is tangible. And she got through it and she was like, oh my God, I'm okay with the weight loss not coming right now. I understand myself better. I'm like, that's that. And so now everything's just shifted and how she shows up for her work and herself and her family. It's just an unbelievable transition. And it wasn't through the mindset hacks or the journaling. It was diving into some of the stuff that she was like, wait, uh, that was underneath there. I'm like, keep on digging, sister. Keep on asking yourself that next question. No judgment, just ask that next question. And it's really cool to see.
Seeing transitions like that is beautiful. It's a hard space to sometimes hold, and have them hold too, right? Like, hey, listen, I'm
Uh,
slow. It's coming, but we just have to take things one day at a time, right? And
yes.
especially when it comes around something like weight loss, where you want the physical results so badly because you've probably
Yeah.
tried so many things and you don't feel good and you want that quick result. And it's like, but that's what's been keeping you stuck. It's
Mhm.
like, let's come at this from a different angle. And you'll see results a lot quicker that way too, and lasting, right?
Mm.
And even if the results are a little slower, you probably feel better too.
And they're lasting. Yep.
Yeah. If you had, two or three words of advice for somebody that's, coming into your world wanting to feel better, just, maybe they don't feel good on their body, they're, tired, maybe, want to lose weight, whatever it might be, what would be kind of two or three little nuggets of advice that you would give them?
I would say take your time. And I know that's like, lady, I'm in a rush. But the more that you can embrace slowness and appreciate yourself, the more that your brain, subconscious, your body are all going to get on board. And everything starts to feel like it's coming a lot faster when you just kind of surrender. And that's the hardest thing to do because, hi, surrendering for me made me want to slap somebody in the face. But it
Mhm.
wasn't until I started to say, okay, what I'm doing is not working. So, okay, this is my rock bottom. I have nothing else to give. I'm exhausted and I hate myself on most days because I'm trying to be this thing and show up in this little box. And I tell people, you don't fit in a box. So stop trying to put yourself there.
100%, 100%. Well, if people wanted to find you, kind of find out a little bit more about what you do, what you offer, let us know where they can check you out?
They can look at two places. So they can look at just Jaclyn, and then they can look at the Sucker Society, because that is
Tell us about.
something that is coming. So this is a idea I had many, many moons ago, and try to create the sucker myself. I am by no means a candy maker, people. So this was in my parents' kitchen. We literally took ashwagandha little tablets and we're breaking them into the syrup to try to make candy. The candy burned. Obviously, the ashwagandha burned. It was the most atrocious smell that lasted for weeks. I was like, I'm so sorry, mom and dad, that I just left that in your kitchen. But we tried it multiple times and I was like, I cannot do this. So I finally found somebody to create the functional health sucker that you can have on the go, that is healthy. So it's good for your teeth, good for your gut. And the basis around it is using it for not only nervous system as like an anchor, like oral fixation, but just also it's that one thing you can go to that's on the go and it's not a gummy full of a bunch of random additives and crud that are going to hurt your gut. So it's based around like real life stressors. So some of the names will be like rinse dew raspberry, or if you're having a really bad PMS, I'm not crying cherry. So just kind of moments that are relatable as hell. We all go through crapshoots like we've talked about, and to have that anchor to bring yourself back to that's also going to have supplements in it to heal leaky gut or work with your PMS symptoms, or have things in there that are soothing for your nervous system in moments that you're putting the kids down and you feel like, I want a big fat glass of wine. We can put the wine down, grab a sucker, and that's how you wind down that night versus feeling like crap in the morning from the wine. Although I do like wine, but it does not serve us any purpose when we wake up in the morning feeling groggy as hell
Yeah.
from trying to just push away our pain. There's another thing that you can grab, and it's going to be a very healthy wellness sucker that can solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, I love that. We were jamming on what a cool, thing this is to offer to the wellness space, and something that's sweet and on the go. And yes, I love that. I will put the link for what is it, the Sucker Society, right?
Yes.
Yeah, down in the links below. So definitely go check it out, support Jaclyn, and support your body in the meantime. Um,
Yeah.
but otherwise, I really appreciate you being here and jamming on nervous system and in a really raw, relatable way, right? But if you found this helpful, would absolutely love to know. Just Jaclyn is her IG. You can shoot her a DM, shoot me a DM if you found this helpful, and you can always share it with somebody that might need to hear this as well. But
Mm,
thank you for listening, and we will catch you guys on the next show. Thank you, Jaclyn.
thank you.